Hello, I'm Chris Williams from Read Comics, They're Bad For You, the name of my YouTube channel. Or if you're watching this on BitChute, the name of my BitChute channel is Comic Freak. Today we're going to be talking about how D.B. Weiss and David Benioff leaving their lucrative Disney Star Wars deal shows that Kathleen Kennedy's control of Lucasfilm is crumbling, and most likely will be on the outs soon as Disney begins to clean in-house and look for ways to save the dying franchise that is Star Wars. But let's get into this article to learn more. It's become almost comical on Monday. Game of Thrones showrunners David Benioff and D.B. Weiss became the latest high-profile talents to part ways with the Star Wars universe before their movies hit theaters. They're part of a revolving door of A-list directors who have found it impossible to realize their visions in a corporate culture that is said to invite little creative independence and argument. They joined the ranks of Josh Trank, Colin Trevorrow, Phil Lord, and Chris Miller in being summarily dismissed from the Star Wars productions they were intended to helm. In films of the size and scale of Star Wars, it's not unheard of for productions to run into heated creative disagreements, but the high rate of turnover is raising eyebrows across Hollywood and among the rabid base of fans. It's also inspiring questions about the management style of Kathleen Kennedy, the executive tasked with guiding Lucasfilm and with finding fresh ways to expand a galaxy far, far away. It's like if you take a job as a Star Wars director or creator, you're automatically thrown in the Sarlacc pit, and your chances of getting out and making that film are so unlikely you have to almost be a Jedi Master, says Jeff Brock, a box office analyst with exhibitor relations. Even directors who retain credit for their experienced issues. Rogue One, a Star Wars story, Helmer Gareth Edwards was essentially replaced by screenwriter Tony Gilroy during extensive reshoots, although he was ultimately the one credited with directing the finished product. Here you can see the signs that the control that Kathleen Kennedy has had up to now are beginning to slip finally through her fingers, because her directors are unhappy, and every time they show any kind of desire to actually direct, they were hired to direct a film, but Kathleen Kennedy feels the need to basically either kneecap them or remove them from the positions so that she looks like she's in complete control of Lucasfilm. Therefore, she shows Disney she's unfit to helm Lucasfilm because she's unwilling to trust anyone to actually direct a film. When Kennedy and her team pitched these filmmakers on joining the Star Wars family, sources say they were promised some measure of creative control. However, multiple insiders said new ideas were commonly shut down, as Kennedy and her team were only looking for people to stick to the company line. If disagreements about the direction of the film became too intense, it usually led to the person leaving the project rather than an attempt to find common ground. The Lucasfilm Brain Trust would often turn to new writers such as Lord and Miller before ultimately returning to old standbys such as Lawrence Kasdan, and The Empire Strikes Back writer, who is still seen as a key sounding board on the productions. Even if the lack of an appetite for creative risk isn't to blame, there are questions about whether the abrupt departures of key talent points to a problem in how directors and writers are being vetted and hired. I already said Kathleen Kennedy wasn't willing to trust anyone, and she's not willing to let them do what they were hired to do. Benioff and Weiss had ambitious plans to take the Star Wars saga in a new direction, one that would exist apart from the Skywalker family saga that comprised the franchise's centerpiece 9-film series. The Star Wars period the pair was interested in exploring was how the Jedi came to exist. However, Lucasfilm executives and the creators began to see their visions for the films diverge. During meetings last summer, news that the pair had signed a massive $250 million production deal with Netflix was a signal to many that they were eager to explore other opportunities. It also brought pressures when the pact was announced. Netflix said it was aware of the duo's commitments, but insiders say they were also wary of waiting as much as 4 years for them to wrap up work on Star Wars. The streaming service wanted Benioff and Weiss to focus on creating exclusive movies and shows for them, particularly when they looked out at a streaming landscape that is growing ever more competitive with the launch of Disney Plus and HBO Max. As relations with Benioff and Weiss curdled, the studio had begun taking general meetings with other writers and possible Star Wars pitches. It's unclear if these were just sit-downs exploring other related productions in the franchise's cinematic and streaming universe, The departure of the two likely sends the studio back to the drawing board, with the future of the series more uncertain than it has been since Disney closed its $4 billion deal for Lucasfilm in 2012. This December brings J.J. Abrams' Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, and with it the end of that 9-film series. Abrams has been one of the few directors who has been able to successfully navigate the Lucasfilm landscape. But he has a mega deal with Warner Media that will likely mean he won't be making any more Star Wars films. Rian Johnson, who oversaw the more divisive The Last Jedi, was said to get along with Kennedy and has maintained that he had a creative freedom, but fans balked at some of his decisions. He had been hired to oversee a separate trilogy of Star Wars films, which remains in development, though it's unclear how far along work is on the production on the streaming front. In November, Disney Plus will release The Mandalorian, a series about a mysterious bounty hunter that has gained some positive buzz, and the company is prepping a show centered on Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan Kenobi. However, Disney was clearly stung by the box office failure of Solo, a Han Solo origin story that led to the high-profile firing of Lord and Miller. In a recent interview with the New York Times, Disney CEO Bob Iger said, "I just think that we might have put a little bit too much in the marketplace too fast." No, you were both greedy and you put agenda politics in your movies. You released a Star Wars movie every year and you expect them to do well? No, it won't. They eventually will fail because you only have so many people that can do good projects at a time. And you prove that people will get sick if you release a Star Wars film once a year. Sources at the studio insist that Kennedy's job is secure despite the churn of filmmaking talent, but insiders at the talent agencies believe that top filmmakers may become wary of working on the series, particularly if their end result will be an embarrassing dismissal. Star Wars fans did receive some welcome news when it was revealed that Kevin Feige, the executive credited with guiding the Marvel Cinematic Universe, will work on a standalone Star Wars film that led to the speculation that Feige might be brought in to stabilize Lucasfilm, but insiders say that there are no plans to give him a larger role in that division. Ultimately, analysts say that the Star Wars brand is permanent enough to withstand all the behind-the-scenes drama. With the exception of Solo, the movies haven't just been hits, they've been box office juggernauts with few equals. I'm sure there are fans of Benioff and Weiss who would have loved to see them do something with the Star Wars world, said Eric Handler, an analyst with MKM Partners. But are they going to boycott all Star Wars movies because of it? Probably not. It's a lost opportunity, but there are other people down the road who will come into the brand and do something new and exciting. I've come to the conclusion the writer of this article clearly thinks Disney has a handle on this situation, or they are paid shills because they clearly come off like they're basically telling the public that, don't worry folks, the multi-billion franchise that Disney bought in 2012 is not failing, and that Disney did not make any mistakes in buying Lucasfilm, because we will clearly set the record straight and make sure that all of Disney's Star Wars movies in the future will be multi-billion-dollar record breakers. So do not worry, keep coming to our movies and keep buying our merch, because everything is all right. And this ultimately leads me back to Kathleen Kennedy, because like the media shilling for Disney, it just comes off that Kathleen Kennedy and the rest of them at Lucasfilm are in a big WYB mode where they're watching your behind. If not, this talk about Kevin Feige taking over Lucasfilm wouldn't be so prevalent. You see, Kathleen Kennedy and her inept handling of Lucasfilm has led both D.B. Weiss and David Benioff to leave Disney Star Wars movies behind, and it looks bad for Disney because their corporate head at Lucasfilm let two promising directors who headed Game of Thrones over at HBO get away. Not to mention the failure of Han Solo and the looming disaster that is Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker on the horizon. I'm sure that Disney and the rest of Hollywood can see Kathleen Kennedy is on the way out. Which leads me to the end of my video, so if you like this video, subscribe. Make sure you're still subscribed because YouTube is going around unsubscribing people, so make sure you're still subscribed. If you're watching my videos but you have not subscribed, please subscribe to me. Subscribe to my YouTube channel at Read Comics They're Bad For You. Then go over to BitChute and subscribe to my BitChute channel, Comic Freak. Hit that bell for notifications, hit that like button, and leave some comments down below. And could you please share this video? Share it on Twitter and share it on Facebook. Facebook. Share it anywhere you think it would do the most good, because YouTube isn't going around promoting their YouTube creators anymore, and it would really help me if you could please share this video. Now I'm going to plug for my independent comic book again, so listen closely. Keep checking back in future videos for more information on my own upcoming independent comic book, Scumdogs. I'm Chris Williams, and I'll be back again tomorrow with another video or review.